to be Taylor Swift all the time and look just like her. Like that's got to be weird too.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's a whole different level as far as like celebrity and wealth and everything else. So no wonder these people are all messed up, right?
No, you're absolutely right. Yeah. I call it the Michael Jackson problem, right? Because it's like nobody ever told Mike no. Like,
oh, I know.
Like, whatever you want, Mike, you can have it. And he's like, all right, well, I'll take all that propofol directly into my veins, please.
Oh. Yeah, that's right. Well, who knows what, because he was a star when he was a child, right?
Yep.
But I think his parents weren't the greatest as far as like the way they raised him. You know what I mean?
That's
like
a little bit of an understatement if you know anything about the Jacksons. His parents weren't the greatest. Yeah, no, they were. These people give each other new heads for Christmas. They're crazy. All of them are insane. And his dad was an abusive prick. So.
Yeah. I mean, it's so just getting back to because we can talk about Taylor Swift all the next hour or so, but I think because she has been around since she was a teenager too, but she seems to have adapted. She seems like she's like just not. Her mind is like can grasp like what she's doing as far as like not like.
Oh yeah. No, she's a CEO. She's not a celebrity. Yeah. She's a CEO. She just happens. Her business just happens to make her a celebrity. Yeah, she is 100% a CEO, and she's really good at it.
Yeah. So I don't know, Travis, you've made a powerful enemy in me. Don't step here in Las Vegas again.
That's right. Your Super Bowl champion has no clout, carries nothing. This is my town, Randy says.
Yeah. How dare you?
How dare you, sir?
Oh man, I didn't mean to sidetrack that.
No, it's good. I like talking about T Swift. Plus, it gets us the clout, right? It gets us the all the AI bots that are running and scraping our content are going to pull Taylor Swift stuff for us. So that's good. I love it. Let's all right, main cast, we got that covered. Let's talk about seasonal villains. So we have the main villain, of course, Boyd, but we have big bads in every season. And you have Bo Crowder, Mags Bennett, Robert Quarles, Nikki Augustine, Daryl Crow Jr., and then Avery Markham, of course. Yeah. And I think that the answer, I feel like the answer here is really obvious as to kind of who the best seasonal villain is. But at the same time, when I sat down to think about it, I waffled a little bit, but I'll let you go first on this one. I'm sure we answered the same.
Yeah, I went with Mags Bennett as number one, and then very close. And actually, I think I may even mentioned it, like maybe in one of the other episodes, is that Robert Quarles as close second, maybe even surpassing. No. I'm just going to go with a very close second.
This is the exact same train of thought I had when I was writing mine. I was just like, oh man, it's like, and I think what it came down to for me was 80% how Margot Martindale played Mags Bennett and 20% how Mags Bennett was written. That made her such a good character. And I think for Robert Quarles, I think it was like 90% how Neal McDonough played him versus how he was written. And so I gave the writers credit for that because I was talking about the character, not the actor. If I had to talk actors, I mean, it's very, very close, but I give a slight edge to Neal McDonough in that just because. It's a stretch. That role was a big stretch. So.
Yeah, and if you think about Mags Bennett's arc, I mean, she sort of is like very similar. Like she's just going. She has her goal, and but she doesn't really change much personally. I don't think over the course of her season. But like as you're saying, the way that she acted or the way it was written is good.
It's great.
But Neal McDonough
Yeah.
his descent from where he starts out as this guy who's very put together, very and just like popping pills, like we had said before over the one episode, it was like what was his name from Airplane? I picked the wrong day to stop sniffing glue.
Right. Yep. Yeah. He goes from wearing a suit and being very buttoned up to like by like 8 episodes later he's freebasing Oxy in a trailer whorehouse.
Which is brilliant. It really is, because he's and it's because he ends up like, what was his arc? He was almost like Boyd.
Yep.
Like where his arc is like, oh, I'm gonna try and do this, but these yokels like outsmarted me or screwed up or whatever. So,
yeah, he had the disadvantage of having both Boyd and Raylan working against him. Like I think he would have been able to manage just one of them, but with both of them he was doomed. Yeah.
So yeah, and there was even like a darkness with him, like like kids, so like in that house where he had that boy, so he was probably definitely a close second. And if you had asked me, like maybe when we started, I would have waffled and said, oh, Max Bennett by a lot. But it's Robert Quarles with close second.
Robert Quarles is the one villain, maybe other than Bo Crowder, just because of how big he was. Robert Quarles is the one villain who I would be afraid to run into on the street. Like Avery Markham, he's fine. He's genteel. He's a Southerner. He's not going to bother me. Daryl Crow Jr., he's just a jackass. I'll avoid him. And Nicky Augustine, he's a old school mobster, right? He's not going to just pick on a civilian to pick on a civilian. But Robert Quarles, he might abduct you and lock you in his bathroom,
or tie you to a bed, handcuff you to a bed. Who knows?
Paint the wall an entirely different color.
Oh God.
All right. Well, that's our, I figured we were going to agree on that, but I was surprised when I sat down and actually thought about this, how close it was between Mags Bennett and Quarles. And the same as for, I would say favorite season. I think this gives us a really good segue for me, at least, is that, man, season 2 is so good. It's perfect basically, but season 3 is a lot closer than I remembered it being. It is a lot closer than I remembered it being. So,
yeah. And I think that just goes back to what we were just talking about. Like Quarles, his descent is magnificent.
It really is.
It really is. And Mag, she knows how to deliver a line. She knows how to, like she. Yeah, so I think my favorite season, it would go. Actually, I think I might even go like 3-2.
Okay.
So season 3 as favorite, and then 2 very close second.
Yeah. I think there's a perfectly good argument to be made there for that. Season 3 is very, very tight, very, very well done. Plus we get Limehouse, a lot of Limehouse. That's a compelling thing too. So I have season 6 kind of as the third place there, right? They get the bronze medal. Yeah. I think I really appreciate it a lot more after watching it for the podcast with a critical eye on it. I really started to appreciate it a lot more. I was kind of bummed after season 6. I was a little bummed at when I first watched it. The ending, of course, was great, perfect. Wouldn't change a thing, but the overall season, I didn't feel was that great. But on rewatch, I think it really does work. I think it works really well, actually.
Yeah.
The relationship between Catherine and Avery, I think, in particular, was something that I really didn't pay a ton of attention to the first time through, and watching it as part of the show or as part of this podcast, I was like, oh, this is really well done. Like they really, they display this level of betrayal that Catherine does, and Avery forgives her essentially for it. And, only for her to then be hopelessly murdered. It's really well done.
Yeah, there's a whole new appreciation, like you're saying. I have a whole new appreciation for that season 6, and I think that maybe we revisit it in like 10 years when we're old.
Yeah,
see that.
Like that. Although I'll say this, let me tell you, I saw a news story this week. I didn't forward it to you. I meant to do that, but I didn't text it to you. Where Walton Goggins was interviewed at South by Southwest, and he said, "We're all ready. We're all ready to do it. We're just waiting for FX." And so apparently we've got another season of Justified coming, assuming FX wants to foot the bill for it. We've got it. It's coming. Like he said, the cast is ready to go. The producers are ready to go. We've got the story. We're ready. So,
oh wow,
that was not what I expected to hear coming out of South by Southwest. And I was like, and then if you'd asked me before he said that, would I be excited? I was like, I might be a little bit mixed on that, but boy, did I get excited when I read that article.
It's like those Lethal Weapon sequels, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. They're so good, right?
Yeah.
They have no right to be, but they're good. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's. That kind of makes me excited, actually. Yeah. My reaction is okay. Well, cool. I'm gonna go check that out. So he said that at South by Southwest.
South by Southwest. Yeah, he was doing this interview for something else, and I can't remember what it was, but yeah.
All right.
Yeah, there was an interesting. Cool. I read another article coming out of South by Southwest. They did a Office Space 25-year. I think it's 25 years cast reunion. It might be 30.
Might be 30 years, actually, right?
Oh my God. How old am I? It's there was a very interesting sort of article about that. And they talked about getting the movie made and some of the decisions they made. And there's a very cool sort of long read about that I'll send you that too. I know you like that movie. So
yeah. Well, how relevant is it in the beginning for people who haven't seen Office Space? There's a scene in the opening credits where one of the characters is listening to this rap, like hardcore rap music. He has his windows down. He's in his car listening to it. He's a white guy.
Singing along.
Singing along. And then he pulls up and there's a black dude. And then he rolls up his windows and turns the radio down. It's fantastic.
That's actually one of the things they talk about in that article is they talk about how Mike Judge wanted to use the rap music in the movie and the studio didn't. The studio was like, people aren't going to like it. They're not going to understand it. And so they did this whole focus group where they talked about the music, and the studio paid the person who was running the focus group to try and get the people in the focus group to like be against the music. Like they were asking leading questions and whatnot. And people were like, no, we loved it. We thought it was great. It makes sense. These are angry young men. This is angry music. It makes a ton of sense.
That's awesome.
It was great.
I mean, they have that music, like they're beating up that copier in the middle of the field, right? That printer.
Damn, it feels good to be a gangster.
Yeah. That's classic. That's I love that.
Good. Yeah. So those of you who read in addition to listening to podcasts, check those articles out. They're both very good. The Justified one I wish had a little bit more meat to it, but it was definitely a nice little tease. Got me a little wet, cool. I would say. So worked out. All right. Let's see what's next. Okay, so let's talk about recurring characters for a minute, because we've got a bunch of recurring characters out there. People who are on the show, Vasquez, for example, I would consider to be a recurring character. Cousin Johnny is a recurring character. He's not a sort of a main cast member. I would say Dewey Crow is probably a recurring character because he only shows up in about 20 episodes of the 80 episode run. So yeah, guys like that. I don't know. Do you want to go first? Or do you want me to?
Oh, I just had Dewey Crow.
Yeah, Dewey Crow. Dewey Crow's great.
Yeah.
Mine came down to Dewey Crow versus Dickie Bennett, and I picked Dickie Bennett.
Oh yeah.
And again, I think it's 90% because of how Jeremy Davies is playing him. Yeah. I
wonder if that was real dirt or if that was makeup because he always looked kind of grimy. You know what I mean?
They said like he would literally cut his hair like that to be weird for the show, and so it might have been real dirt. Like he's
such a method actor.
Yeah, very method. Very, very method. It paid off. I love Dickie Bennett. I love every time he's on the screen, I smile because he's just the mannerisms and the contortions and the talking with his arms. It's wonderful. I love it. So